Okay, welcome to the Afro World channel. We are going to be talking to Sarah Sangau tonight, like we promised during the day, that we're going to talk about the Ugandan elections. Uganda is going to decide in January 2021. So it's all a hive of activity. But for us to be more informed and to know who is who down there, we have got a former national of Uganda, Sarah Sangau, and she's an Australian lawyer. Yes, she hasn't been to Uganda for some time, but she has that blood in her veins. So she's going to talk to us and give us more right from the source. So don't forget, if you've got issues or stuff that you want to discuss, but here on Afro World, we talk with the people who matter most. We talk issues, we discuss issues that are still in their infant stage, issues that people want to hear. So yes, tonight we've got Sarah Sangau. Most people know her in Australia. She's a lawyer, she's a community advocate, she's a politician, she's a very active woman in the community, but she's a very active Ugandan. Tonight she's going to talk to us. And of course, don't forget, if you want to talk to Afro World, if business that you do or any other issues that you want to let the world know, I'll put my number on the screen there. If you're not happy about what Sarah is going to share with us, I'll also put a number on the screen, and you can always contact her and say, hey, Sarah, I want to clarify something. Looks like Sarah wants to be contacted on Facebook. So you can search her on Facebook and you contact her there. All right. Sarah, can you introduce yourself to the people?
I think you've done a great introduction. I don't really need to introduce myself so much, but in terms of what you were talking about, in terms of being a Ugandan and being up to date with what's happening, let me correct you. I haven't been in Uganda for a long time, since 2007, and yes, I do love politics, but I also haven't actually followed very closely the politics of Uganda and what's happening. But yes, I have, read a few things. So probably, maybe, hopefully I'll be in good position to comment and answer the questions as they come through. So yeah,
Hey,
to your
Sarah.
satisfaction, that is.
What we want to know is most people have never been to Uganda. Most people, they just believe what they are hearing on BBC, Reuters, and these other news channels. But I think from the source, you still have family in Uganda. You talk to them, they are telling you what is happening in Uganda. Can you tell us when exactly are these elections? When were the last elections? Who were the contestants? And who are the contestants in the next election?
Now, in the next, I don't know much about many of the contestants, the presidential candidates, people that want to run for presidents in Uganda.
But
I have
definitely,
knowledge of
there
only
are
the.
always those two who are making news. The
Yes,
other ones, they are
absolutely.
just
So
making
the big
numbers.
ones that are making news, yes, are the ones that I'm quite familiar with, and one of them being His Excellency the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and then obviously Honorable Chagulanyi, artist also turned politician, Honorable Chagulanyi. Those are the very two that I'm actually quite informed of, and the ones that I really follow because they're the ones that are actually popular. Um, and I've heard there is a retired general or a general as well that's running, and there is a female, and it's a disappointment that I have actually not taken the time to actually know who this woman is, because that's also a great thing for Uganda to have a female running for presidency. So I will research her further as we go on and get to know her more and get to know what her background and history is, which is a great thing for Uganda. So those are the people that I've actually, the two that I've actually been following.
Yes, mostly you know that in some countries, not only Africa, we have what we call polar politics. By polar politics, you find out that if you go to America, you only knew that there was Joe Biden and there was Donald Trump. That's polarized politics. It's an either or. In such kind of politics, it comes with a lot of mistrust, a lot of fighting, a lot of backbiting words and all that stuff. Like you see today, Donald Trump is saying, I don't agree with the results. You saw. There was also political violence in the American election. That's what happens in polar politics. Is this what we are witnessing in Uganda, where it's an either or, two-horse race?
Absolutely, because obviously, if you're watching news, the two candidates are the most famous candidates, running for presidency. It's either I do not see it as either or. The fact is, it's one person, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now, people confuse popularity with ability and success. You have to remember that yes, he is popular. I don't see it as an either or. Because just because somebody is popular, it does not mean they are a all. So this fight is not actually a fight for presidency between two people. And this is the reason why I stand firm. I don't think the president has any threat or issues to be really concerned about. The thing about, Bobby Wine, Honorable Chagulanyi, that I respect so much about him is the ability that he has had to actually persuade and mobilize people. But people forget that he's an artist, he's a musician. He has had people behind him, in his music career, and it is the same people that he has swept with him. Now, as to whether whether there is a candidate and like polarized politics or candidates as compared to America. With America, both candidates were very popular. They're very popular in terms of their history, ability to lead a country. As to whether Trump was political or had a political background, that's a different issue. But capability, the ability to actually lead a nation is what makes somebody a candidate, a viable candidate. And I only see one person who has the experience and ability to run the country. And I'm going to get a backlash here. Okay, I will get a backlash here. But
you will definitely, because Afro World goes to the world. But actually, you are entitled to your opinion. We are living in the universe where democracy is the order of the day, and everyone has got their opinion. But we respect your opinion because one, you are Ugandan, two, you are a politician, so you really know what you're talking about. So tell me something.
Jason,
you said there's ability to run a country and popularity.
Absolutely.
If you compare Yoweri Museveni,
yes, please.
And Bobby Wine, I don't know his name. I know Bobby Wine, but
Honorable Chagulanyi, he is.
Chagulanyi, wonderful.
Yes.
So, who has the capacity to run a country?
Now, this is how I will put it in a simple comparison for you. What is happening is like comparing to when you are hiring employees. You're hiring new people. You're recruiting people for your company. Okay, and if we look at it now, Uganda. Let's say Uganda is the company and want to hire people. Now you have and some things that you have to take into consideration. A lot of times is the salary that you'll be paying the people. The experience, the skill, and everything. So now here, we are looking at an experienced person and an inexperienced person, just when you're hiring. And then you have to consider and ask yourself, depending on the company you're running, how valuable it is. And the position that you're hiring in, you're hiring a CEO. Do you want to hire someone who already has the knowledge and experience? Or do you want to hire someone who has no experience? That's a tough question. And that's what Ugandans have to ask themselves. His Excellency does have the experience. He has hands down experience. And what happens with hiring a person who is experienced is that when you put them on the job, they get the role and run with it. So they send you all the training.
Why is it that Uganda has taken this long not to find the right candidate who can match Museveni in ability, inability? Because we're talking about ability. You said, if I can quote you very well, you said, Bobby Wine is popular. He is a musician. Yoweri Museveni is popular. He has been in the game for a long time, but Bobi Wine does not have capacity to run a country.
Now, let me just say something.
Yeah.
Running a country is more than playing music, Jason.
Yeah.
Running a country involves you understanding the psyche of the people, the system, national, international, regional politics, all right, the history of the country. And His Excellency Yoweri Museveni has all those things right in his hand, the palm of his hand. All right. And I do respect Honorable Chagwan. And indeed, I applaud him for taking on this role and challenge. But what I think is that what he did that's really fantastic is the fact that if he wants to advocate for the people and, um, agitate for change, is that what he did by running for parliament, that was the best step, first step forward. But a country cannot change instantly. There's a gradual process that you have to put in place to make that difference, to achieve that. And when you talk about experience, now I know that unfortunately for Uganda, Uganda as a nation has not seen a peaceful. I was chatting to a very, very good colleague of mine, who is also half Ugandan and half Sudanese. And one of the things we're discussing was the fact that Uganda has never seen a peaceful transition of power. All the previous leaders have come through either a military takeover, a coup, or, it has been some sort of, military action involved. There was never a peaceful transition of power. And the only time we've actually had, and my colleague pointed this out to me, only time we had a peaceful transition of power was when we got independence from the British. Okay. Now I know when His Excellency took over, there was, hope that obviously he will rule Uganda for a certain period of time, a few times, and then hand over peacefully power, right? Transition power. But what you have to realize is that the system where you only have 8 terms, 8 years obviously in office, this works for developed countries, first world countries. We have resources in Uganda, but we do not have, we're competing against international enterprises, international world, international markets. Okay. The challenge for us to transition power peacefully, or to just transition power, is not as easy as it seems. It's not as easy as Ugandans see it. So so in so saying, I think Chagulani's desire to transition Uganda instantly is an unrealistic activism.
Okay.
And the
So
problem
you're
with
saying
having
Bobi Wine is more of an activist than a politician who can hold his own against big international countries, a big corporations and big countries like America. When they come with these contracts which are confusing, he may end up signing everything away.
This is the thing. Because he has not had the experience, I can't answer to that directly. But what I can say is Museveni has proved to us that he can stand for Uganda, our values as Ugandan. He can stand against the international force and pressures, to preserve our values, to preserve our culture, to preserve our sovereignty, which is very important. All right. And for me, until I see, and the other thing I wanted to also point out that's really important, just the mere fact, Ugandans have to really think carefully and deeply. Just the mere fact that you are fed up of someone, the mere fact that someone has been in power for a while, all right, is not good enough reason to want somebody to be removed from power, to be replaced. That's not good enough reason. All right.
So make your case.
Make your case, some of the good reasons are you need to make your case to people. For example, Honorable Chagulani needs to tell us things, like, what is, he needs to tell us what are some of his core or substantive policies, that he has. You can't just say, this person has been in power for a while. And I think for me, the most dangerous thing, why I think that Honorable Chagulani is not ready and is not a competition to Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Okay. The reason why I think he's not ready and he's not a competition at all is the fact that he's preying on the vulnerability of Ugandans. Okay. Now, Jason, if you have the desire to genuinely transform a country, to genuinely see change, number one thing, this is not a small change. You have to know that this change comes gradually. And if this change comes gradually, you need to be able to lead people through a peaceful, and it might not be Chagulani, it might be somebody else. But I think it's, preying on the vulnerable citizens. Most of the people that actually support Honorable Chagulani, young, I'll say they're young, and it's the youth, it's the people that are unemployed, it's people who who are uneducated. Okay, these are the people that are supporting him. Now, these are people who are experiencing all sorts of pressure, left, right, north, south. Okay, so if you are going to tell people that, you see, the problems that which might be partly correct, if I come and say that, you know what, Jason, the problems that you're facing now, poverty, right, and all these other issues you're facing are because of this other person, all right, people are going to be filled with all emotions, and when you're emotionally charged, your response is not going to be reasonable. And this is what we see. And this is the reason why I think Honorable Chagulani is not politically mature. Yes, I admire his drive. A lot of people want change, but who are we handing power to? Do you want to hand power to someone who is inexperienced? My thing is this: if Uganda was in the level of America and Australia, okay, if we were in that level, perhaps I would side with sorry, I'm just putting my other headphone in. Perhaps I'll consider the saying that where Americans have said, putting that there's a saying that says that presidency, is a job which everybody arrives to unprepared. So I'm thinking, if Uganda was one of the first world countries, then I would accept that saying that presidency is a job where everybody arrives unprepared. Because if you take an example of Trump was leading a very developed country. He was inexperienced, but they have their resources. They have all the necessary equipment they need. Absolutely. But Uganda, do we really need a president who's not prepared? And how unprepared is enough to have Honorable Chagulani?
Yeah.
So these the issues that I have.
I know you're not going to be voting in January in Uganda. So because I'm going to be having you on as many days as possible, because events are unfolding, I want you to finalize tonight's talk by giving me your prediction. Who is going to be president in February 2021 of Uganda? It's your prediction.
Jason.
Anyone can come up with their own prediction. This is a prediction. You could win money for it, or you could lose money for it. Who do you think in February will be the president of Uganda?
Listen, Jason. Before I answer that question, I must make some issues very, very clear. Now, the situation in Uganda that I've also witnessed on social media is also police use of power to disperse protests or campaigns. So there's been a lot of breaches of people's constitution and civil rights, because we know that citizens should be allowed to be able to voice, to protest, to assemble, to express their views without the fear of being prosecuted by the police or unfairly arrested. So let me just really be clear that the manner in which what I see on social media, that is totally abuse of the citizens' rights, and I think that needs to be also checked. Now, having said that, I also understand that there's been incidents where where Honorable Chagulanyi has not conducted himself in a more so politically mature manner, because I understand that there's been news that he has held campaigns that have not actually been in line with the regulations or the rules that have been put in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19. Now, we understand that if these are the rules that are being put in place, I think for someone that's to be, for him to conduct himself in a politically mature manner would have been him telling his supporters to not appear in rally. He has so many mediums that he can actually conduct his campaigns. Okay, if he really does care about the citizens of Uganda, I think these are some things that he would have needed to take seriously. So but and also because I think, I'm not really sure, I don't know about the law and the constitution and how the electorate runs its rules as far as campaigns are concerned, but if those are regulations and rules put in place, please follow them. Please follow them. And I think the law would I would presume, just like in Australia when COVID happened and we wanted to go and we wanted to go demonstrate and protest for the Black Lives Matter causes. You understand that a lot of these events were cancelled, as a result of obviously the government wanting to minimize the spread of COVID and get COVID in control. So if he goes ahead and carries on with these campaigns, obviously, the police in Uganda, not even Uganda alone, in Africa, and the army, they are trained, okay? They're trained not just to be service, they don't service the people, it's unfortunately, it is the nature of how our system of policing and army is built. They are more there to preserve law and order, enforce law and order. So if you're gathering and you actually restricted or refuse from prevented from gathering, they're going to do everything necessary in their power to follow the orders given to them. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. Please do not quote me incorrectly.
And your last word, who is going to be the Prime Minister of Uganda in February? It's your prediction.
The President of Uganda.
Then, yes.
My prediction will be, remember, you see noise on the street, but there's also the silent majority who are not making noise. I'm thinking, there's no competitor for His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and the silent majority who will also speak during voting. So he is the viable candidate so far, based on experience.
Thank you very much. We are going to catch up with you in the next broadcast because this story is still hitting the airwaves. We will be catching up with you in the next broadcast.